want to take stock of the 3 years. What has been the biggest policy shift that he has done that you felt the impact of as a Kenyan person or as a household? What is it that he has done or his government has done that you felt that impact? Or if he has not done anything, we'd also love to hear from you this morning. So go to Facebook, that is on EBN TV, that is the Facebook page. Give us your views. Our SMS line is open as well, 23059, or you can send us a message as well through our WhatsApp number, and we'll be able to just sample some of your feedback, positive, negative feedback. We'd love to hear from you this morning as well concerning this. I'll be joined in studio with my 2 guests in just a few minutes. But before that, I'd love us to take a look at what is happening just across the country as well as the newspapers. So my name is Cynthia Nanjala. Let's get this show started. Now, tension erupted in Thika outside Makongeni police station after angry boda riders set ablaze a police officer's vehicle following the alleged shooting of 2 riders. According to reports, the incident began when the officer reportedly knocked down a boda rider and his passenger. When other riders confronted him over the accident, he allegedly opened fire, killing 2 riders on the spot. In retaliation, the enraged riders torched the officer's vehicle, causing significant damage. The officer has since been arrested and is currently detained at the Makongeni police station as investigations continue.
Wangu wakiwa wamebeba customer wake, akaguzwa nyuma na gari. Hapo ndipo wale walikuwa nyuma walikuja kusaidia, kuuliza huyu mwenye amewaguza, bona unaenda na umewaruza watu pale nyuma. Ndio jamaa alitoa bunduki akashoot hao majamaa wawili wenye sio wenye walikuwa kwa accident, wenye walikuwa wanakuja kusaidia, ambapo wenye alikuwaruza na gari hao hawakuumia, waliguzwa kidogo, lakini pikipiki ndio iliharibika.
Sisi ni watu wa pikipiki, tukiambia mtu wenye ndio akona makosa tutalete, lakini askari akiwa ndio akona makosa.
Well, that's an interesting, situation, almost similar to what has well happened in Luanda, Vihiga County, but this was not, involving a police officer, but just, the anger that boda riders had to, express through torching of vehicles. Now, elsewhere, former cabinet secretary and long-time Rongo constituency legislator Dalmas Otieno has passed away at the age of 80. His son, Eddie Otieno, confirmed that the veteran politician died on Sunday morning at his home in Nairobi. Born on April 19, 1945, Otieno first entered politics in 1988 when he was elected as Member of Parliament for Rongo constituency on a KANU ticket. During his political career, he held several key cabinet positions under the late President Daniel Arap Moi's administration, including Minister for Industrialization, Minister of Labor and Human Resource Development, and Minister of Transport. Otieno later joined Odinga's ODM party and was appointed Minister for Public Service in the Grand Coalition government formed in 2008 between ODM and Mwai Kibaki's party of PNU. Worshippers at the Good News Church of Africa Bomani branch in Machakos were on Sunday forced to conduct their service outside after finding the church gates locked and a no trespass sign mounted. The congregation claims they are embroiled in a land dispute with the Full Gospel Church in the area despite having worshipped on the land since 2007. Speaking to the media, members said they were officially allocated the land in 1974 and have been using it for religious purposes ever since. They expressed frustration at being denied access to their place of worship and accused their rivals of attempting to take over the property. The members are now appealing to authorities to intervene and resolve the matter, warning that continued wrangles risk disrupting their freedom of worship.
Kwa majina naitwa Reverend Aaron Mutunga Kitaka. Mimi ni pastor wa kanisa la Good News Church of Africa Bomani Machakos. Na leo tumekuja tukapata katika gate imefungwa. Na kama waumini tulisimama nje na kuna watu tuko na kesi na wao. Wa kanisa la Full Gospel. Hatujui la kufanya kwa sababu sisi tumeabudu hapa kuanzia 2007 hadi wa sasa, na hii kiwanja tumepewa 1974.
Ni jambo la kuhuzunisha sana, kana kwamba leo hatutaabudu. Tumejitayarisha, tumeingia kanisani, tunapata kibango. Tuna huzuni kana kwamba wenye tuna kesi na wao sasa hivi wanaabudu na sisi hapa tunataabika. Tungeuliza sababu wao wako na mahali pa kuabudia. Ingekuwa jambo la muhimu sana kama wangekubali nasi tuabudu.
Watu kama kuna uwezekano venye tunaweza saidika kama jinsia Bomani tusaidiwe. Juu kesi bado iko kotini na kumefungwa. Tumekaa hapa miaka mingi, au tuko na kesi na wao hawajawahi abudu hata hapa mara moja. Wao walipewa uwanja mwingine. Sasa sijui huyu ni Mungu mgani ambaye tunaabudu, Mungu wa vita. Wao saa hii wanaomba, sisi hatuombi. Sijui ni nini. Wangekuja hata hapa wangefungua, pia tungeomba na wao. Haina shida juu tunaabudu Mungu. Lakini sasa hii ya kufungia watu wasiabudu na wao wanaabudu, sioni ikileta picha mzuri. Lakini tunashukuru tu Mungu kwa kila jambo juu katika maandiko yake ametuambia kana kwamba.
Opposition leaders allied to former Deputy President and Democracy for Citizens Party leader Rigathi Gachagua have launched a fierce attack on President William Ruto, declaring that he must serve only one term in office. Speaking during a public rally after attending a church service at the PCEA Miharati Parish in Kipipiri constituency, Nyandarua County, the leaders accused President Ruto's administration of failing Kenyans. They cited poor governance and unfulfilled promises as evidence of what they termed a failed government, insisting that Kenyans deserved better leadership. The leaders have vowed to intensify their campaigns to ensure Ruto does not secure re-election, reiterating their commitment to rallying the public behind the one-term presidency narrative.
Mimi nataka niongeleshe William Ruto kitu moja. Ati anasema kule Nairobi, ati wale watu ambaye tunasema ataenda nyumbani sisi ni mafala. Katikati ya sisi na William Ruto, nani fala? Jambo la pili, ati William Ruto anasema anafanya kazi ya kupeana bodaboda hapa Nyandarua. Mumeziona? Mumeona mahema? Mumeona? Aende asiende? Aende asiende? Ni one term.
William Ruto, wewe wakati ulikuwa unatafuta kiti, Uhuru Kenyatta hakukuhangaisha. Alikubali uende Kenya mzima. Kwa nini wewe unahangaisha viongozi wa upinzani? Kila mahali tukienda tunatupiwa tear gas, tunapigwa na polisi, tunapigwa na mawe. William Ruto nakwambia, katiba ya Kenya inaruhusu kila mtu atembee katika nchi hii akifanya siasa yake. Aende asiende?
Sisi ambao ananyarira, sisi ambao anapiga, siku ile alitaka watu ya kusimama na yeye. Sisi watu wa Mount Kenya tulisimama na yeye. Niguo kana tiguo. Sisi tulimchagua akakuwa rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya. Niguo kana tiguo. Kama tunaweza mfanya rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya, tunaweza mfanya raia. Niguo kana tiguo. Wewe Kasongo wewe. 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 Sisi ambao tulikufanya rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya, tutakufanya raia wa Jamhuri ya Kenya. Niguo kana tiguo.
Na sisi tuko hapa tukisema ngo lazima akue. For education system to function, Ruto must. For health system to work, Ruto must. For Kenya to have peace, Ruto must.
Harambe! 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 Aende asiende! Aende asiende!
DCP party leader and former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has reaffirmed that the opposition remains united in its efforts to remove President William Ruto from office. Speaking at a church service in Nyandarua County, Gachagua emphasized that the opposition coalition will maintain cohesion for the sake of the nation. He further stated that the opposition plans to present a single presidential candidate to challenge President William Ruto, urging residents to support the party's chosen flag bearer. addressing concerns from his deputy party leader Cleophas Malala over the appointment of Dr. Mohisa Kitui as the chair of the United Opposition Secretariat. Gachagua stressed the need to balance youthfulness with experience.
Sisi tumeshikana kama United Opposition na tumekubaliana tutatoa candidate moja wa kung'ang'ana na William Ruto. Si ndio? Si ndio? Candidate mo? Na pale kwa secretariat juzi tumeamua ya kwamba tumeweka Dr. Mukisa Kitui hapo atusaidie. Na huyu deputy wangu kijana anaitwa Malala. Kijana shupafu, ananisaidia sana na ni kijana mzuri. Lakini niliona alikuwa na wasiwasi ati imewekwa mzee inatakikana vijana tupu. Hapana, pale secretariat yetu tuko na majenzi na milinio ndio wanasukuma kazi hapo kwa secretariat. Na wanapanga kazi nzuri sana. Na tuko na imani na vijana, majenzi na mamilinio. Lakini lazima tutafute mtu mmoja iko na experience ya kuwa guide na kumenta house. Iko namna hiyo. Is experience internationally na tukaona ile experience yake akuje kwa hiyo secretariat asimamie hao vijana ndio tuweze kufaulu. Na nimeongea na Cleophas Malala nikamwambia asikuwe na wasiwasi. Yeye anataka tuweke vijana wote tupu kila pahali. Hata pale kwa chama yetu ya DCP amejaza majenzi na milinio ndio wanatawala sisi pale. Na anafanya vizuri kwa sababu lazima hao majenzi na milinio watusaidie. Lakini pia lazima tutafute mtu moja wawili wako na experience wanakaa na hao vijana wetu wanawaguide. Vile mimi nakaa na akina Medhu, akina Gasheri, akina Karongo ninawasaidia. Si iko namna hiyo? Si hapo tukue na mtu moja iko na experience ya kusaidia vijana. Kwa hivyo hakuna wasiwasi, all of us are speaking the same language.
All right, let's take a look at the newspapers briefly this morning as we, plan to have that conversation around President William Ruto's government in the last 3 years. Now, Daily Nation reads, Inside State House Police Hiring Drama. Inside State House Police Hiring Drama. Now, civilian commissioners and police chiefs clash over recruitment. President Ruto, in a marathon meeting with police bosses that ran past midnight on Friday, demanded an end to tough wars that have stalled the recruitment of 10,000 police officers. The National Police Service Commission now faces a defining week in the high-stakes standoff. And so that is the headline this morning concerning the recruitment of police officers, which is at a standoff, about 10,000 police officers. Now, a State House meeting fails to unlock police hiring deadlock. Now, 2 meetings called to resolve the impasse on the planned recruitment of about 10,000 police officers have failed to bear fruit, even as President William Ruto directed speedy resolution of the dispute. The first meeting with the president was held at State House, Mombasa on Friday and was attended by the IG, Douglas Kanja, and his deputy, Eliud Lagat. A full meeting of the National Police Service Commission that followed that at State House also failed to break the deadlock after crisis talks at the Kenya School of Government in Mombasa. A technical committee comprising of police bosses and officials from the Police Service Commission has been constituted to look into the technical issues that have derailed the rollout of police recruitment. Now, initially, the government had planned to recruit the new police officers by the first week of this month and admit the successful candidates by the police college for training by October 1st. However, disagreement between the civilian commissioners of the National Police Service Commission and the uniformed ones led by Kanja and his 2 deputies has derailed the exercise. So 10,000 officers have not been recruited. And the president is trying to broker a way forward between the National Police Service Commission and the National Police Service to ensure that these 10,000 officers go to training and are subsequently recruited or admitted by the colleges, different colleges across the country. Now, uniformed commissioners of the NPS have rejected a new recruitment process that requires candidates to first apply online. And so what's the timeline? Now, on September 4th, the commissioners hold their first meeting at the Kenya School of Government in Mombasa. On September 5th and 6th, a technical committee is formed to look into the dispute. On September 7th, the technical team is set to submit a report on the way forward. And on September 8th, being today, the National Police Service Commission is set to hold a special meeting to discuss report and come up with a possible recruitment date. So that is the headline on top of the Daily Nation. In addition, priestess linked to the Kwabinzaro cult. There was another unusual, about 30-year-old Charlene Anindo Temba, apart from the steady stream of visitors to her rented house in Kilifi. And detectives now claim that behind those walls, something sinister was unfolding, and it had everything to do with bodies being exhumed at Kwabinzaro, reviving memories of the Shakahola massacre. Now, this is something that needs to be spoken about more so that we do not find ourselves in the same situation we were about 2 years ago, that was in 2023, with the Shakahola massacre. Now, inside the life of this priestess, her picture has been put on top of the page, which is linked to the new Kilifi cult, where neighbors say her conduct did not arouse suspicion, as she largely kept to herself. However, police feel otherwise, saying something sinister must be happening behind those closed doors. Now, more than 10 bodies have been discovered in the Kwabinzaro area, with bodies being exhumed from graves. Bodies of young children as well have been exhumed from that particular grave. Now, the Ministry of Interior initially had stated that it had sent out people on the ground, but no reports really have come out of it, even as detectives are rushing to come to the bottom of this particular issue. And so that is as well the latest from Kwabinzaro area in Kilifi County. Remember, Kilifi is still the place as well where Shakahola also is one of the areas in which mass graves, about more than 100 people had been exhumed dead, with the priest, that is Paul Mackenzie, in police custody still, even as investigations are still continuing. It's an active case in court as well. Now let's switch to the Standard newspaper that speaks of debt horror. Now, since President William Ruto took over, the country has been borrowing a troubling 2.29 million shillings, get this, per minute, 137.5 million shillings per hour, and 3.3 billion shillings per day. As he marks 3 years in office this week, Ruto has so far borrowed 3.5 trillion shillings. Horrified economists now warn the rising debt lacks practical value for the country. Besides, a look into the president's promises reveals chivalrous absurdity, from planting 15 billion trees to building stadia that can host the English Premier League, with the debt cabin promising falling flat 3 years down the line. So that will also be one of the conversations we'll be having around the head of state and his economics. 3 years later, did he overpromise and underdeliver? And he was one of the people that were really calling out the former president Uhuru Kenyatta over the callous debt, acquisition in the country. And now he finds himself in the exact same spot. But his is worse. 3.3 billion shillings per day, which pushes the borrowing limit way past the 11 trillion shillings ceiling that had been set. So that is something that we'll be having a conversation on the Standard newspaper this morning. Also, thoughts continue to come in over Faith Odhiambo's, swearing into the Commission for Compensation of Protests of Victims, or Committee of Experts of the Compensation of Victims. She was sworn in as the vice chairperson. In case you're wondering why is this a big deal, she's the Law Society of Kenya president. She was one of the people that have been at the forefront for calling on justice for these victims, as well as calling out the government. And so views come out that you cannot eat and criticize a government at the same time. Eat from this government as well as criticize this government. And so those are some of the views that continue to come in. Some feel that, somebody has to be at that particular table to ensure that this is actually done and that victims are actually compensated. And so we'll also be talking about Ruto at 3, the scorecard, which has largely been highlighted on the newspaper this morning. And then now finally to the Star. Kenya stares at mass job losses as AGOA expires. Kenya stares at massive job losses as AGOA expires. Now more than 66,000 jobs on the line as US ends the AGOA Pact. Now, the African Growth and Opportunity Act, Kenya is staring at about 66,000 job losses because of that particular pact, which the United States is set to end. So 3 weeks from today, over 66,000 Kenyans employed in the apparel industry alone would not be assured of their jobs if a last-minute decision is not made to extend the African Growth and Opportunity Act Pact, which expires on September 30th. Now, remember, the thing is, US, is under a new president right now. And so this new president, Donald Trump, will come in with his own views. We've seen the USAID, which has been halted. Funding has been halted to majority of African countries as well. So is this one of the areas that is going to be affected, and how does Kenya prepare for that particular one? Because 66,000 is no small feat. That's a huge number who contribute hugely to Kenya's economy, paying taxes, as well as just keeping the economy going, as well as just businesses that are being done here and then. So it's going to be a massive impact. And so 22 days to that particular expiry, 66,000 jobs on the line, 660,000 Kenyans rely on apparel exports to the US. Because remember, these 66,000 people have got families that depend on them. So there's a huge ripple effect of that. We're talking about 54,000 jobs that were already affected by USAID funding cut. 105 gazetted EPZs as of last year. We've got 60.5 billion shillings is the value of Kenya's exports to the US alone last year. 67,000 of youths are unemployed in the country as we speak. And the period that had been proposed for AGOA extension is for 16 years. So that is something as well that is key, and we'll be keeping an eye out on. And so Watchdog as well now raises alarm over declining police welfare. And that is also one of the issues that has been put out on the newspaper this morning. So that is your headline on the Star. Kenya stares at mass job losses as the African Growth Act expires, as well as death horror on the Standard, and on the Daily Nation, inside State House police hiring drama. All right, allow us to take a quick break at that particular point. When we come back, we'll be having a conversation around Kenya's economy, as well as, various aspects of the Ruto at 3, that scorecard. What has he done? What has he not done? And he's got about 2 years left in office. Will he manage to fulfill the promises that he made as he was taking out of office about 3 years ago, right around this time in 2022? So that conversation returns in a bit. Stay with us, don't go too far.